Exodus 38. Are we done with building stuff? I'm done with building stuff and I haven't lifted a muscle. I honestly didn't even know what else there was to discuss in this book, but apparently the answer is that we forgot to build an altar. They built the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood, 3 cubits high. It was square, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. They made a horn at each of the 4 corners so that the horns and the altar were of one piece, and they overlaid the altar with bronze. They made all its utensils of bronze, its pots, shovels, sprinkling bowls, meat forks, and fire pans. They made a grating for the altar, a bronze network to be under its ledge, halfway up the altar. They cast bronze rings to hold the poles for the 4 corners of the bronze grating. They made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. They inserted the poles into the rings so they would be on the sides of the altar for carrying it. They made it hollow out of boards. Wow. Bronze. I guess they ran out of money for gold. Leave it to Christian Trump Moses to blow all his cash. Actually, if you remember the beginning of Exodus 27, this is almost word for word what God instructed them to do. It's very close to just copying and pasting the words from that section over here, but just putting everything in past tense. Which means the person writing this part of the Bible is like a high school student trying to plagiarize, but hoping he won't get caught, so he just changes up a few of the words, hoping no one notices. It all just makes me ask, once again, why couldn't they just say, the altar was built just the way God wanted? I am a better writer than every author of the Bible, and I am a horrible writer. They made the bronze basin and its bronze stand from the mirrors of the women who served at the entrance to the tent of meeting. They took the women's mirrors? I know these are not exactly feminists, but damn. It's like every time we hear about women in the Bible, it's because the men are putting something in them or taking something away from them, or watching them turn into salt. Have you ever tried to take a mirror away from someone who wanted to look at herself for a second? I wouldn't recommend it. And notice that these women served at the entrance of the tent. They were not in the tent because they couldn't be because of their women parts. But the men allowed them to serve at the entrance, which sounds generous but is totally not generous. Okay, you know what? The next section is also a carbon copy of something we've heard in the past. So I'm just gonna whip through it all. One slide, let's go. Will you be able to read it? No. Does it matter? No. Next, they made the courtyard. The south side was 100 cubits long and had curtains of finely twisted linen, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side was also 100 cubits long and had 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The west end was 50 cubits wide and had curtains, with 10 posts and 10 bases, with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The east end, toward the sunrise, was also 50 cubits wide. Curtains 15 cubits long were on one side of the entrance, with 3 posts and 3 bases, and curtains 15 cubits long were on the other side of the entrance to the courtyard, with 3 posts and 3 bases. All the curtains around the courtyard were of finely twisted linen. The bases for the posts were bronze. The hooks and bands on the posts were silver, and their tops were overlaid with silver, so all the posts of the courtyard had silver bands. The curtain for the entrance to the courtyard was made of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer. It was 20 cubits long and, like the curtains of the courtyard, 5 cubits high, with 4 posts and 4 bronze bases. Their hooks and bands were silver, and their tops were overlaid with silver. All the tent pegs of the tabernacle and of the surrounding courtyard were bronze. So much wisdom throughout the book. Don't you feel spiritually fulfilled after reading that? That, of course, was a carbon copy of Exodus 27, verses 9 through 19. Those are things no one wrote down on paper, but which everyone apparently remembered perfectly. I know we laugh about Genesis 1 being literally unbelievable, but recalling these instructions by memory may be as absurd as young Earth creationism. We are now through Exodus 38, verse 20. But let's be honest, we should really be at verse 2, tops. These are the amounts of the materials used for the tabernacle of the covenant law, which were recorded at Moses' command by the Levites under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron, the priest. Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made everything the Lord commanded Moses. With him was Aholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer, and an embroiderer in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. The total amount of the gold from the wave offering used for all the work on the sanctuary was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. I like how they said at the beginning of that part, here's how much everything cost. But then, before they give the answer, they have to describe a family tree in a parenthetical just for the hell of it. The wording at the end is weird. It sounds like dollars and cents, but some translators would say it's more like two equivalent amounts using different labels. In case you're wondering though, how much would it cost for all the stuff they're building? Because they're carrying elaborate creations made of gold and silver and bronze through the desert. That much material, as rare as it would have been at the time, probably costs tens of millions of dollars today. All to glorify God. Even back then, they were just throwing their money away in church. The silver obtained from those of the community who were counted in the census was 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the sanctuary shekel. 1 bekah per person. That is, half a shekel, according to the sanctuary shekel, from everyone who had crossed over to those counted, 20 years old or more, a total of 603,550 men. The 100 talents of silver were used to cast the bases for the sanctuary and for the curtain, 100 bases from the 100 talents, 1 talent for each base. They used the 1,775 shekels to make the hooks for the posts, to overlay the tops of the posts, and to make their bands. I feel like there was a math problem in there somewhere that we have to solve, and I have no clue what the question is. Well, let's make one up anyway. In Exodus 5, we were told 70 members of Jacob's family moved to Egypt. After about 400 years, that tribe is now over 600,000 men. Just men, which means there are millions of women and children. How old must those women have been to crank out that many babies? I don't know. I don't want to crunch the numbers, honestly. I'm afraid to learn the answers. The bronze from the wave offering was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. They used it to make the bases for the entrance to the tent of meeting, the bronze altar with its bronze grating and all its utensils, the bases for the surrounding courtyard, and those for its entrance, and all the tent pegs for the tabernacle and those for the surrounding courtyard. Great! I mean, they should be proud, I guess. I don't really care anymore. This is just way too detailed for anyone's good. There is no way they are teaching this stuff in church. You know, at some point, we have to return to the plot. What is the plot? I don't remember. But there was one. We had plagues and everything. And then Moses made a pit stop at a hardware store, and the writers haven't been able to stop talking about it ever since.